Today, we're going to dive deeper into the Jared Leisek case. There are some myths, and we're going to bust those myths. Empowering True Crime Alex here, and I'm actually recording this after the fact, after I did this long video, and I ended up breaking it up into two parts. The first part is the timeline for the case. Today we're going to talk about these myths that pop up and just busting those myths. Now, I know I may get some pushback on some of these, and that's okay because I've actually been holding my tongue for several months, so I think it's valid now. And some of these cross over into other types of R cases, R and SA type cases. So I think it's definitely relevant and it's time to share them. Today, we're going to dive deeper into the Jared Leisek case. There are some questions and some things that have come up. I'm going to call them myths, and we're going to bust those myths about this case and about the situation and the details around this case. All right, so here are some myths. And I definitely would be remiss if I didn't bring them up. These are things I've been thinking about for a long time, and I just think that it's time to just say it, okay? So the first one is, she just wants money. This I hear all the time on my comments, and it really infuriates me. And here's why this is a myth. It's a criminal case. There is no money exchanged. The state decided to pursue the case and press charges because there is something that they believe could convict him. They're not going to take a 30-year-old's case on if they don't believe that there is some evidence or something that could convict him. This is a criminal case. She will not, if he is guilty, she will not make money from this. So why are people continuing to say she just wants money? And they use this for every SA case. I hear it and it really infuriates me because if you talk to these women, they don't want the money. They feel like crap. They just want justice. The second myth, she's faking it. Also, people think, and it kind of goes par and parcel with the she wants money. She's faking it. She's making up these allegations, okay? Every type of crime has between, depending on different reports that you see, like different research that you see, anywhere from 2 to 10% false reports. Let's just say average of about 5%. Every type of crime, robbery, SA, murder, has false reports or people lying about the reports, right? A lot of times it's to cover their own butt because they did something else wrong or whatever it is. Or there's even a sickness that's related to making false reports, but it happens across the board. But when a robbery, when somebody says, oh, that guy robbed me, people aren't like, you're faking it. It's almost like a default. It was only until the Me Too movement came out where it was like, hey, let's believe victims. It's only since when that movement came out that really people started to believe people. But still, from my comments and from things I read and see and watch on the internet, people still believe anytime, especially if it's a public figure, that the person's allegations are wrong. And here's the thing. No one questions the validity of any other type of crime. It's only SA is the only one that people question. And on top of that, SA is statistically underreported by like a third, like by 33%, underreported compared to other violent crimes. So what does that mean? It's being underreported, and yet people still think that the people that do come out are faking it and that they want money, okay? That's a myth. We have to believe victims. Our default needs to be that they're telling the truth because it probably are. And I'm not talking about the legal stance that the person who has been charged is innocent until proven guilty. That's legally. But did the person actually do it? Most likely, yes. The other myth I hear a lot, she's only doing this now that AWP or Jared is famous or is rich. Okay, so the original emails between Jared and his cousin were in February of 2022. AWP took on the Kylie Rodney case in August 2022, which pushed them into the mainstream limelight. So she has been already pursuing justice since before AWP's catapult to fame. Now, was he making money from before? Probably. But he doesn't act like it because he's always asking for donations and always acting like, oh, the bus broke down or the band broke down. We need money. So there has been this kind of strange, like, yes, they were making money, but they weren't really showing that they were making money. It was really only from all of this happening that people started to realize that they were actually making a lot more money than they were showing. Why didn't she say anything sooner? Kind of like as a way to discredit her, right? She was a child. She was 9 or 10 years old, and she didn't understand what was happening at the time. And that's why there are no statute of limitations on child R in most states. And now there's actually no statute of limitations on a lot of sexual abuse crimes in most states. In Utah, there is no statute of limitations on child R. So if somebody wants to come out 50 years later, she came out 30 years later, that's why, okay? And especially as a child, because you don't know what's happening. A lot of times you're not believed by your family, or you don't have the support, or it is a family member. Like in this case, in some cases, it's a family member. And so like, who are you going to tell? And is somebody going to believe you? This is ruining Jared's life. Okay, and her life isn't ruined? Apart from the alleged R itself, the act that that happened to her, assuming, and I say alleged, she's had to live with PTSD, guilt, victim shaming, victim blaming, not being believed, vilified for speaking up because she is not believed and people are making her into the monster. And probably far worse. If he is guilty, he deserves legal punishment, right? So if his life is being ruined because of something he did, then it's warranted. Whose life shouldn't have been ruined, and it's definitely not fair, is the victim. He was just a kid, and it was 30 years ago. He doesn't deserve this. I hear this a lot too. Yes, AWP has done a lot of good work. I honor and have gratitude for AWP for the work that they've done in recovering cars and bodies and closing cases that went cold years ago. However, that doesn't take away from any bad or wrongdoing that a person has done. He is not, people act and treat him like he's a golden boy or this one incident that happened 30 years ago. But the thing is that this is not a one-time deviance for Jared. And he hasn't been perfect since. So let's say this happened at 16 years old. One of the things that they talked about in this case, as a teenager, he was charged with stealing someone's car to go for a joyride. And they actually referenced that in the court hearing on March 8th, right? The defense attorney tried to say that this couldn't have happened because at the same time that this alleged incident happened, he was either in juvie or something happened, basically discrediting that with another deviance of Jared, okay? So that's as a teenager. As an adult, he's been charged with stealing, fraud, pulling a gun on someone, lying under oath. The fraud had to do with the SEC. He's been accused of lying under oath. And so when people are saying she's lying, there's actually more evidence to show that he would be lying based on things he's actually been charged with, fraud and stealing and lying under oath, than her. So if I would already believe her just based on statistical data, but now you tell me he's got all these other things, to back up that he's not necessarily always going to be telling the truth. And what else has he done? Those are just the cases I'm aware of. What else has he done that either we aren't aware of as a teenager? As a teenager, if you've done anything as a teenager, once you get to a certain age, your records are wiped. And so that's actually one of the things that the defense attorney said. The proof that the incident happened at the same time that he was involved in this joyriding thing was wiped from records. That's what the defense was saying. What else did he do that we aren't aware of, right? And so people making it out, like putting him on a pedestal and that he doesn't deserve this because it was just this one-time incident 30 years ago, that's wrong. There is a history of deviance. There's a history of wrongdoing. And like I said before, of fraud and lying and stuff like that. Okay, so at the risk of being called a man hater or a Jared basher or anything like that, I just want to share statistical data, okay? Because I think it's very, very important from an advocate standpoint that we make sure that we know statistically SA is underreported, right? And there's many reasons for that. A lot of times there's power dynamics. If it's family members, you don't want to say it, right? It's uncomfortable. Sometimes they don't know that consent is necessary, right? And when they were talking, like just what the judge said, a child can't give consent. So, that's just like automatic. Any abuse on a child, right? Like a lot of times that's not going to be reported because they don't know any better. And so many times those types of cases might be decades later, like in this case. And so that, and then also that the false reports, people weigh so much on false reports, which is barely happens in any case, in any type of crime. And because SA is underreported, it's probably even less. And so people give so much weight to false reports in SA, and and with they don't do that in any other crime. So you can tell I'm very passionate about this because I think that still, even after the Me Too movement, still people argue those myths that I talked about. They still argue that in my comments. And probably the number one is that she wants money. It's a criminal case, baby. She's not getting any money from this. So you're wrong. She doesn't want money because it's a criminal case. It's the state, right? The state is against Jared, right? Now, after this case, if she wants to make a civil case against him, that's different. But right now we're talking about criminal charges, not civil charges. There's no lawsuit against him. There's only a criminal case. So at this moment, there is no money being exchanged. And like we talked about with the GoFundMe, she's not asking for money. She just wants justice, right? And we have a second person, his sister. And there's been a lot of people discrediting her, because of her past and things that she said. Funny, it's interesting. People discredit her and use her past against her to discredit her legitimacy of her claims, but nobody uses Jared's past, or not nobody, but a lot of people then forget about his past, right? And they make him like this golden boy. So again, we're not balanced here. We're not comparing apples and apples. If you're going to discredit her for her past, then you need to discredit him for his past as well, right? You need to compare apples and apples. And so I personally believe Jessica, because usually when there's one SA case, there are multiple. And this is not just my opinion. This is statistically. You see lots of cases, right? And a lot of times one person covers it up, or one person doesn't say anything, then the person, if one person's not charged, then they continue the cycle of abuse, and they continue until somebody brings it up or charges them or something else happens, right? So I wanted to start off with the timeline, which I talked about at the beginning of this video. Bust those myths that many people say, and I'm probably going to get comments on this still, and that's okay. I will continue to rebut with facts and statistics and data to back up my beliefs, right? This is not my opinion. It's not, whatever. This is not my opinion. I'm backing it up with statistical data. All right. So with that said, if you learned something today, if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you think about this case. And if you want to be up to date on the latest on this case and other true crime cases, please subscribe. I hope that you have an empowering week. Stay safe, stay thriving, and bye for now.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for notifications. Thank you.